Hello and welcome to the Dricus du Plessis show. A big shout out to our partners at Betway, of course. They have 2 tickets to watch the Springboks against Ireland or against the All Blacks. All you have to do is like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, comment, and you could win 2 tickets to see the 4-time world champion. So don't miss out on that. Now, it gives me great pleasure. I'm a huge fan. I've been fortunate enough to follow his career from day one. He has been on the show before. I actually commentated on his first ever fight in the UFC, and now we have a UFC middleweight champion of the world, Dricus du Plessis. Dricus, that feels good, man. I mean, to consider where you started to where you are now, the hard work is paying off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just thought about it on the way here. I told Fasti, and she said you actually told her that it's from I remember my very first UFC fight. You were commentating. And here we are 11 years later. Can you believe it? 11 years later and finally a world title.
And many more, hopefully, down the line.
100%.
Defenses and who knows?
Many more defenses. Maybe another belt, maybe even 2. We never know.
I must take my hat off to you, man. And thanks for coming on the show. I know you were incredibly busy. And January 20th in Toronto, you got the whole world talking. You got South Africa buzzing. You've been an incredible ambassador for the sport. I mean, even before your title. Today we were at a breakfast this morning. People were queuing. I think that queue was like 300 meters long almost. It felt like that.
Yeah.
And you were signing autographs and taking pictures, man. Congratulations, but also on being such a great ambassador.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's part of the responsibility, especially, I believe, in South Africa and around the sport, because the sport was never, everybody knows about the sport. And that's something I've actually realized. They just had a very big misconception about, they've heard about cage fighting before in South Africa, and I believe over the past even 2, with UFC doing great things and changing the stigma slowly but surely. Obviously me going out, and obviously Cameron as well, going out, South Africans going out and fighting in the UFC on the biggest stage in the world, and then eventually becoming a world champion, is changing that stigma of the cage fighting to the athlete. Yeah. And that's what I've always wanted to do. I hate it if people call me a cage fighter, because I'm a fighter by heart 100%, and that is my job, is to fight. But I'm not a cage fighter. I'm an MMA athlete, and purely because, I mean, I don't get angry when people say that. I just know they're misinformed. Yeah. And I think that's what's the biggest change that's happened over the past 2 years, was people stopped looking at this as cage fighting and started looking at it as mixed martial arts. And that took a very long time to swing it in a direction where people think of it as a sport and not as this brutal act.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love to see how the sport changes people, inspires people, and ultimately now more people, I believe, than ever in individual sports believe they can become a world champion.
Your fight on the UFC against Strickland 297 was the biggest watched or the most watched combat sports live event on Supersport, and it set records in that space. How does it feel? You, single-handedly had the nation tuning in to watch you fight. That's amazing.
Well, I didn't know that until now, so that's great to hear.
Yeah.
But I mean, how does it feel? Incredible. And I just want to say thank you to each and every person that tuned in, because at the end of the day, without that, what does this matter? Without the fans, without the people tuning in, without the people supporting, what's the purpose of this really? At the end of the day, for me, making my country proud and representing that flag on the international stage, the biggest stage in the world, that's what drives me at the end of the day to do this, to never give up. When you're in that tough situation, when you are in that 5th round and things aren't going your way, because by that time, I always tell people, it's so funny, people go, oh, but you're making money now and you're super famous in the spotlight. And I go, no, that's great. But if you think you go into that fight, the title fight I had, and by round 3 or 4, you think money or fame or anything else than passion and heart and the refusal to give up because of something bigger, like representing a flag, like my parents sitting there in the crowd, like my team that worked their asses off, my coach, Monet, who's put in so much effort into me as an athlete. Once you've realized that, once you get into that 4th, 5th round, bloodied, your eyes are closed shut, broken foot, money and fame, I promise you, doesn't carry you through that. that is not motivation enough.
Yeah.
To say, listen, I'm getting a lot of money for this. I promise you by the end of the first round, that thought is gone.
Yeah.
That motivation is used up. It's such a small part of the motivation to keep on going and winning a world title that could never be, in my opinion, that could never be a sustainable motivator. Money or fame or anything that comes as a byproduct because of this, it can never be. To the love for the sport and something bigger than yourself, like representing a country, fighting for a family member, fighting for a whole family, that's something that's sustainable.
Yeah. It's been whirlwind, though. I mean, since you got back, it's been nonstop. And somehow, I know you said you've been back in training about 6 or 7 weeks now.
Yeah, 7 weeks.
But man, it felt like when you got back, it was just everyone wanted a piece of Dricus. I mean, has it been a little bit overwhelming at times?
Yeah, it was my first time as well. It was my first time holding a world title too. But, there was a gradual rise in Dricus du Plessis. And obviously after the Whittaker fight, it was quite a big spike. And then after this fight, it was insane. But yeah, I would say it was overwhelming, but because not overwhelming like in what is happening, more of learning on the job.
Yeah.
Because signing autographs for 20 people or 50 people, it's very different to signing autographs for 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Talking to 50 different people and talking to 1,000 different people on a daily basis is a very different situation in terms of where my energy is at and where their energy is at. One thing I always say, people say, aren't you getting tired of this? And I always tell them, I was one guy like that as well. If, Gareth McLaren, I was such a big fan of his always. When I was a young kid, I had photos with Martin van Staden, both guys that I fought, Darren Daniels, all these guys, whenever they would fight, I would be in the stands. And whenever they were in a place where they were doing signatures or photos, I would be the guy standing in that line. I couldn't wait to meet them. I was so excited to meet them. And I mean, a lot of times, not talking about them, I've met heroes where I really felt I didn't need to meet that hero.
Okay.
But I have all new respect for all athletes and people who are in that spotlight, because sometimes your energy is just done. But that's what my exception is. I always say, I know what it feels like to be that kid who's really, this is for him is a massive moment.
Yeah.
And for you as an athlete, it might feel, I don't want to do this now. Like, yeah, cool, take a photo. No, but that 10 seconds you give to that kid or even adult, doesn't matter. For him, that is special.
Yeah.
For him, that's something, you will forget that person soon, but he will never forget you.
Absolutely.
You will never forget that moment. So that is something that kind of motivates me to stay positive and try and match the energy of the person that I'm meeting.
Yeah.
Because it's very important. It's it's a privilege to have somebody ask you to take a photo with them. It's amazing. I mean, it's an accomplishment for me. And so I mean, I always try to make that my mindset. Try to match the energy, because this might not be big for me, but for them it's huge.
Yeah.
And you might just influence that person in a good or bad way. And how you that interaction can have a massive role in what that guy achieves with his life.
It's like they said, like the cliche, never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
And like within that 10 seconds, people will make their mind up.
100%.
No, Dricus is Duis or Dricus.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the most important thing is, and as someone who's been on the periphery watching, for the whole time, like just the way you've approached your space and the people that have come into the space, and that you've always been the ultimate professional, and keep that up. I hope that never changes, and I doubt it will.
Yeah.
As the future goes on. But I think from a South African perspective, we look at the box, what they've done for South Africa. I think I get the same feeling around you and how you've inspired people. And I look around at there's Steve's little girl doing jiu-jitsu. Like there's a knock-on effect. I mean, you were even saying like at your gym and other gyms in your hometown, people are just coming in and learning a martial art. It doesn't have to be full-on MMA.
Yeah.
But it'd be something.
Learning a discipline, a skill, a valuable life skill.
Yeah.
Learning discipline, learning, hand-eye coordination, learning that we are not made of glass, learning that, maybe you are capable of a bit more than you would think, because that's one thing with like jiu-jitsu. I look at it and it's a tough sport, but I don't know how to say this without it sounding weird, but I would say the amount of intellectuals that I meet that do jiu-jitsu is incredible.
Yeah.
It's almost like, because jiu-jitsu is 100% a chess match. Just your move, my move, your move, and the guy who can, and it doesn't have to be as physical. You know, in jiu-jitsu, it's more flow. It's not necessarily, obviously you get your jiu-jitsus where you go. Like if we are competing, it's a different story, but you can do jiu-jitsu really good. I'm talking about be at a black belt level without going hard, without breaking your body, without being a daytime doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. Because one thing I found with the MMA, a lot of professional guys, they want to train the MMA, but we have a group 1 and group 2 in our gym. Group 1 is for the guys who do it for fun. So you learn the same techniques. There's just no sparring. There's no coaches that's shouting at you because you're slacking. Yeah. The group 2 are the guys who want to fight. And we had to make that split because we realized we're losing clients, because the guy who's a lawyer can't go to his law firm tomorrow or go to courts with a black eye. Yeah. Even though, you can explain how you want, it doesn't look good. So with jiu-jitsu, you don't have that often. It still happens, but so I feel a lot of people, older people 50 plus starting jiu-jitsu. And it's amazing. It's amazing. The reason I'm so passionate about it is I know what martial arts did in my life, how it impacted my life, no matter what martial arts it is. And I just want everybody, because I've never met anybody that started jiu-jitsu or started boxing or started anything in that era that said, I never should have done that. Everybody always walk out of there as a better person.
Speaking of your gym, I've seen there's quite a few guys joining CIT at the moment, especially in the EFC ranks, and you're adding some serious talented people there. There must be a good vibe in the gym at the moment. Your UFC title, there's Zulu Boy, you've had JC, there's some champions, some big dogs running around in that gym.
Yeah. The mats are becoming more and more scary every day, and the CIT mats have always been a scary place to be, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
When sparring day comes, you mentally prepare for that. Yeah, it's been amazing because we always had this goal. I always had a goal because obviously Monet, he started CIT. That's his shop. That's his bike shop. His car dealership, and CIT as a pro team was there before I got there. I got there as an 18-year-old, and it was only a pro team. There was 5 or 6 guys, and it was it wasn't a gym like you would see today. It was in a warehouse. There was a couple of mats, and that was it.
It was on the bottom floor. Eh?
On the bottom. Yeah. The bottom floor was actually when we started commercializing.
Oh, okay.
There was a space before that when we were still in Silverton in the industrial area, because Monet had a workshop there.
Okay.
And at the back of the workshop there was a warehouse space that we used to train in. When I got there, that was just before Leon Maynard became champion, just before Michiel became champion, or
Legends.
just when he became champion. The mentors that I had.
Yeah.
And then the commercial space opened, and I took over the commercial space when I was 20. Just in terms of opening the gym, and I was still coaching then. I had 20 guys that I was coaching as an amateur coach, purely to get the next gen of fighters, looking for talent to feed the pro team.
As a 20-year-old.
As a 20-year-old. That was so I was fighting. I was already fighting I fought for the belt then.
Yeah.
But I was coaching full time, and that was the one class a day, amateur class. And if there's somebody came to the class that was more talented or worked more than the other guy that wanted to be there, it was $150 a month. And I didn't have a system. I was just cash. Okay. And I try to remember who paid and who didn't, but it wasn't about that. We had a sponsor who just kept the doors open almost. And that class was purely to get the next gen talent. And funny enough, let me tell you who those people are. I coached Stefan De La Rey. I coached Dricus du Plessis, who's probably number 1 middleweight contender in the UFC right now. That was the guys, for the first time ever stepping on a mat, it was Nerik Simus, Stefan De La Rey, Dricus du Plessis, JT,
yeah,
Buertam, Cameron, Simon. Those were the guys that were, my brother Neil du Plessis.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that were all, the first time they stepped in an MMA arena was in that gym.
Jeez.
When I was 20 years old. That's a crazy, thought, actually. And now all of them train next to me.
Yeah.
They train alongside me. And that's pretty incredible. And how we would do it, if you didn't perform, like in the gym, and somebody else came, and there was 20 guys, that was the max. That's the only amount of people I could give attention to. And you were just kind of, you're not getting it. I would say, sorry, you can't come anymore. So you are being replaced by this guy. He's better than you. Because that's what it was. It was, sorry, you are bench.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if the space opens. But then we moved, and then I opened up with a partner. I opened up the Performance Institute that you have today. So the dynamic is very interesting because people always ask me, so I thought Monet owns CIT. And I said, no, Monet, he doesn't want anything to do with a commercial gym. He says, there's no way. It's too much work and too little money. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He is the coach of our pro team, and that's where his focus is. He's still the boss there.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. If he speaks, I have JT and Claudia. They are my partners in the Performance Institute as of last year.
It's a great space, by the way.
It's amazing. I mean, we just grew in. I mean, we opened up the boxing side and the jiu-jitsu side just to make it more so that everyone feels welcome. But to walk into an MMA gym, I understand for a lot of people, it's an intimidating space.
Yeah.
Because you have these guys on the mat that's going crazy. You're not there for that at all. You want to do fitness, or you just want to learn some skill, and they come in there, they see the pros train, and they immediately, like, you see these fighters and you think, I don't want to be in this space.
Yeah.
So now we've made it in such a way that everybody feels welcome. We have our kids' classes. We came far away from the whole 20 people cap. I mean, we're close to 500 members.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. And, you know, the vibe there, we always tried. What I said with that gym when I started it was the culture is what makes or breaks that experience. In most cases, people don't want to be training. You know, it's hard to take an extra hour or hour and a half with driving included out of your day to go and train.
Yeah.
Very few people are looking forward to that. Waking up earlier or going to sleep later or spending time away from your home, your family, and working hard, it's extremely tough. So that hour or hour and a half or 2 hours they spend at that gym needs to feel great.
Yeah.
It needs to, you know, not only the training, of course after training you feel great, but the culture in such a place. No ego, it needs to feel like
you're welcome.
You're welcome and you want to be there.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've always tried with CIT, and that's something I have to give all the credit to JT and Claudia Buerta. They run the place. They like I said, last year they became partners in the gym, and they are 100%. They are just, you know, they are the ones that cultivates that culture, and it's awesome. It's awesome to have people like that in your life to help you with these endeavors. Because my gym, it's such a passion project for me. Like I said, I started with that at 20. I'm 30 now, and one day when I'm done, that's gonna be my next thing.
Yeah, part of the legacy.
It's part of the legacy, and grow this sport that I have everything to owe for.
Absolutely, and two of the nicest people you'll ever meet, by the way. When you do go to Team CIT, please go and check them out. But with everything that's going on, the media commitments, traveling, you were at 300. You said 300 was an incredible. I mean, Alex Pereira's knockout, hold my beer sort of vibe. It was mad, and then your reaction came up, and people were going.
It was amazing. It was that whole event was crazy. I mean, my reaction, I didn't even feel embarrassed about it. Like, if you were there, I would like to see you react to it. It was incredible.
Exactly.
It was a spectacular event, and I know I had the opportunity to be a part of it. And to this day, even though that's probably one of the best events, the UFC's, if not the greatest event. If I would love to see the pay-per-views, I don't think it beats Conor, but it was the most entertaining fight card as a whole that I've ever watched.
To agree.
100% the best fight card I've ever watched. And I'm glad I wasn't on it, because I wouldn't have been ready the way I would have liked to be. And I got to be a spectator for the first time in a very, very long time, just sitting in the stands as a MMA lover and watching the greatest fights that I've ever seen live. It was an amazing experience.
What's expected of you and that sort of thing? Because normally when you're flying to promote a fight, it's press conferences and that sort of thing, right? But you're not promoting a fight at the moment. You're there because you're a champion. It's a historic number. What else did you have to get up to there? Because I know you and Tom Aspinall, the heavyweight champion, were getting to grips with each other.
Yeah.
Like a guy.
He's such a cool guy. I met, he actually made his debut on the same card I did as well. Him and Ilya and Tom Aspinall made our debuts on the same card.
And you guys are rocking the belts.
Yeah, look at it.
Taporia,
cool.
when he went to the Atletico Madrid game, it was insane.
Wow, it's insane. Taporia is an absolute superstar. Very good friend of mine, and all the respect in the world. That guy is a superstar. I mean, yeah, he's something special in the way he fights and going
Exciting.
out. And he's so slick with it, you know, going out there and beating a guy like Volk, who I absolutely, in my opinion, is one of the baddest men on the planet. You know, just taking the pound for pound best fighters fight on a week's notice when he doesn't have to, just 2 weeks after. He's just such a savage person. And to go out there and do to him what Ilya did, and he said he was going to do it, and he made it look easy. It was very special. It was very special. But yeah, and I mean, Tom Aspinall, obviously, he's almost, in my opinion, he's the next step in the evolution of the heavyweight. It feels like he moves like a middleweight, so light on his feet.
Unbelievable.
And also awesome guy. So yeah, I mean, being at 300 was more of a choice. You know, I was down there, obviously with the UFC, I communicated with them, but I was there promoting Ignite, Ignite Tequila, and I'm working as a partner with
the
Ignite.
ad is great, by the way.
The ad with the checkers ad, that was incredible.
How did you get that swiping right? Because
I have to tell you, that was, I don't know, call it luck. It wasn't skill because I've never done that too much, but let me explain this to you. So we flew to Cape Town. It was around 4 weeks after my fight that we shot that at, 4 or 5 weeks. And I looked at the schedule because we shot those breakaways where I told the guy, I said, listen, I can say it however I want.
Yeah.
So that was the best acting ever if you think it was fake. It was 100% real because by then I've been shooting for 10 hours.
Yeah, you've done.
And this guy says, now try say it this way. And I was just like, it's my saying. The way I say it is the right way to say it. And it came out so great. But the whole team there with the film crew, they were amazing.
Yeah.
But you can imagine standing there and saying the same lines over and over for 12 hours. It's not my forte. My forte is fighting people. So we started at 2 p.m. the afternoon, and I finished the next morning at 5. So we shot right through the night for that 30 seconds ad.
That's mad.
But I mean, you can see the quality, and I thought, how on earth would it take this long? And it didn't actually have to be that long, to be honest.
Yeah.
If everything was, they took first takes, I mean, I don't have a problem with saying the lines. It wasn't that. But they would make you say, the guy would say, perfect, that was perfect. Now I'll say it this way. And you say it, and it says perfect. And I thought to myself, if it's perfect, then why are we doing it?
Why
again?
are we doing this again?
But they just have different angles and different looks just so they make it perfect. And I mean, that ad, I saw it and I said, it was the first time in a long time on TV that I saw an ad that was genuinely funny. It
was great.
It was a great humor. But the card swiping thing, we started with that scene. I said, this scene is going to take 10 hours because I had to look that woman straight in the eyes and say, I never tap. I couldn't do that and just swipe the card to the card machine in the slot perfectly. And I said, guys, let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's not, I mean, you can if you really want to go and then, pause play.
Like
they can cut it if they want to.
Add the sound effect, whatever.
I said, no, they want to do it that way. I said, this is going to take at least 1,000 tries. And I mean, it's still going to be luck at the end of the day. You won't believe it was maybe the third try. The third try, I went, I never tap. And everybody just looked at each other and said, did we just do it? And the guy said, that's the one.
That's it.
And we just did it in it was the shortest take of all of them. So no, but it was a great experience. I have a lot more respect for people doing TV, television, movies. A guy like Conor who just did an amazing movie. I mean, that guy's, everything he touches, man. He's such a legend in this sport, in this, what he's done.
He's transformed the sport.
He's transformed it into such a mainstream sport. And
have you dealt with him at all? Have you
I've met him quite a few times. I was working with Tidal. Was supposed to meet with him for a dinner once, but that was actually the fight where he broke his leg.
Oh wow!
So that obviously didn't happen. But I've met him 2 or 3 times, and always been a very polite, nice guy. And I've always been a fan of his. You know, anybody that dislikes Conor. Obviously, I can understand disliking the persona, but knowing, I don't know him personally, but meeting him, different person, and even if you don't like him, you can't ever discredit what he's done for the sport.
Absolutely.
Because every single fighter needs to thank him, in my opinion, for the raise in pay, the raise in awareness of the sport. Because I think Conor McGregor might be one of the most famous people on earth.
I agree. Absolutely.
In such a short period of time in a sport that's not that mainstream is spectacular. But he spoke about it. He said spending 18 hours on set and filming. A lot of respect for that, because after making a 30 seconds ad, I was fine not to do a lot of TV anymore.
So potentially now, I Never Tap could replace No Weet Julle.
I never tap. Ja, nou weet julle wat ons doen. Wow.
It's just a thought. I'm putting it out there. There's a good chance.
I never tap. So, how are these poor ladies going to have people paying? You know, it's going to be hard.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you, I mean, you mentioned Conor McGregor, but you've also been exposed to A-list celebrities. I mean, just looking at who attends a UFC event, I mean, I'm talking about global superstars. That must blow your mind. I mean, we all know about Aquaman at the Rugby World Cup final, but in general, that you're just rubbing shoulders with the people that we only see on, TV.
On TV. No, 100%. And I mean,
social media,
it's ridiculous. Like, firstly, meeting Jason Momoa, he's huge. He's a big dude. And one of the nicest people you ever meet. What a gentleman. And I mean, only at UFC 300, Theo Von, I'm such a massive fan of Theo Von, and I met him, and he actually took a photo. He said, cool, me, him, Cowboys are Road.
That's cool.
It's surreal. I mean, standing and like, seeing these people that 2 years ago, you almost think these people aren't real because you only see them on movies. I met Miles Teller as well. He's a big fight fan, and I met him at the event. I mean, I'm a massive fan of his. Chris Pratt, met him.
Talented. I mean, he's a remarkable people.
All these people. I met Kid Rock, a controversial figure, but I'm a massive fan.
You've met Donald Trump.
I've met Donald Trump.
You've had a conversation with him.
I've met Shaquille O'Neal, Teddy Atlas. These are people that you dream of meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually.
And Shaquille's huge.
Wow. When I have a big hand. When I shook his hand, I swear his fingers touched on the other side. It was crazy. But yeah, I've met some incredible people. It's been an incredible ride. And like I said, if it all goes away tomorrow, I have a story to tell, and I've lived a full life. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming next.
Well, I mean, that's my next question, isn't it? You've kind of alluded to it now, but everyone's talking about Australia, Perth, 18 August, Israel Adesanya. They're talking about, even though I know it's not 100% confirmed, and maybe by the time this episode comes out, it might be, but it looks like it's headed that way. Is this the fight you want? Is this what puts extra fire in your belly in the mornings?
Absolutely. I think I'm not at a stage in my career yet where I go, oh, that guy doesn't excite me. So you get to a stage, I can only assume in your career when you have defended your belt, or you've been in this at the age of 35, you're at the back end of your career, where you go, you need something to motivate you. You need a person, a specific fight. You don't want the random fight. You want a cool fight.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm not there yet. I'm there to defend my belt. So whoever they give me, I'm happy. But of course, I look at it from a financial standpoint. That is one aspect, unfortunately. What fight, because now I'm fighting for pay-per-view points, what fight do the people want to see? And at the end of the day, I'm an entertainer. I love that. That's why my fight style is that way. I know what the people want to see, and I go and I do it.
Yeah.
And fighting Israel Adesanya is by far the fight that everybody wants to see. And there's a history there. There's animosity there. There's the thing that happened after the Whittaker fight. I don't see why we are not fighting. Well, I mean, I understand why we're not in South Africa at the moment, although that would have been great. But Adesanya doesn't have a lot of years in the sport left. 2 years, if that much.
Yeah.
He's done incredible things.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the greatest ever.
Ever, 100%.
Absolutely.
What he's done in the sport is spectacular. It's amazing. And as an athlete, if you don't respect Israel Adesanya, you are a moron. He is, as a person, you can have your opinions, which I do, but when it comes to what he's done in this sport, he is nothing short of spectacular. He's an incredible fighter, and fighting him is going to cement my legacy. It's going to be something. It's going to be another feather in the cap. Beating a guy like Robert Whittaker, becoming a world champion, and then beating one of the greats like Israel Adesanya. That's. I mean, how are you not motivated by that?
Absolutely. I mean, you told me when you fought Whittaker, you get into the octagon and you look across and you're like, holy crap, that's Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a similar moment in a way? Or is it going to be different?
This is going to be different.
Yeah.
I've seen Adesanya as even though I wasn't even in the UFC yet.
Yeah.
I've seen him as the guy that I need to be to become the best.
Okay.
And he set the bar. I mean, long before I was in the UFC, he was the champion. And he set the bar of what you need to be able to be a champion.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll see. And I've been in that space with him. Robert Whittaker, I've never even seen him in my life before, other than watching him before our fight. A guy like Adesanya, I've met him. We've been on the same training mats. I've trained with him. I've had a face-off with him after knocking out Whittaker. I saw him now at the event. I'm not going to be shocked when I see him in there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm walking in there as the champion. And that is how the tables have turned. That plays a big role.
Yeah.
So it won't be the same. I'm going out there to prove a point.
Yeah.
100%. But, fighting a guy like Adesanya, that's the biggest fight right now for me, for the world, for the UFC. And that's the fight I want. I don't want anything else than the best guy. That's, if you want to be the best, you have to be able to win everybody. And, I wouldn't be too happy if he got injured or something happened and I had to fight a number like he did when I got injured and he fought in number 7 ranked. It's not about the win or lose. It's about legacy.
Yeah.
So fighting Israel Adesanya is what I want to do. That's the fight I would like to have next.
And no chance of running it back against Sean Strickland at this point. I know he's made a lot of noise about it, but I mean, that's not in your best interest, right?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I would have been very happy with that fight.
Okay.
I would have loved that fight. It would have been a lot easier if you ask me, because I've been in there full speed with him.
Yes.
And I felt what he can do, and I felt the mistakes that I made. Wouldn't call it mistakes. I'll just put my foot on the gas quicker.
Yeah.
And then I think I'll get him out of there. Because, I think obviously he'll make a lot of adjustments. I'll make a lot of adjustments. It will probably be a different fight, but I would be more than happy because a lot of people want to see that fight too.
True, yeah.
But, that's not what the UFC wanted.
Yeah.
I was, for me, I said Strickland or Adesanya, happy to do it.
Yeah.
Very happy. I have no problem with that whatsoever. If you give me Strickland, perfect. If you give me Adesanya, perfect. And they went with Adesanya.
Cool.
And that's it. So
That's exciting.
I'm happy either way.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I think, like I said, nothing has been said in stone yet with the Adesanya. There's just hasn't been any talks of Sean Strickland, and we know he's fighting Paulo Costa now. So that really answers my question.
How does it happen? I mean, forgive me. I mean, if you do know how it works, but for our viewers that maybe don't know, is it literally a call from the UFC to your manager going, we've got a fight for you? Or was it an email? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, just sort of share that, because we'll never know what it's like to be offered a fight in the UFC. I'm just...
Well, I went to meet with Hans Campbell of the UFC now when I was in Vegas. That was the first time I went to... I've met him in person quite a few times, but to discuss a fight. But like with the Whittaker fight, I just woke up with my... it was maybe 6 a.m, and I saw my agent phoning me, and I said, was it him or was it Hunter? I can't 100% remember. I mean, I was still basically asleep.
Yeah.
And I took it. Answered the phone, and they said they want to do you and Whittaker. I said, when? And he said in July, International Fight Week. I said, okay, that's 8 weeks. I said, well, that's perfect. I'm just going to phone coach and double check, but I'm 100% phone coach. He said, perfect. Phoned him back and said, cool, we have a fight. It took less than, and they said Rob was in, I was in, I think Dana actually spoke about it, said it took like 2 minutes to make that fight. Because for me, my agent, if I'm not mistaken, was in a situation where he said, whoa. Let's not, it's Robert Whittaker.
Yeah, the Reaper.
So, I mean, if you beat another guy, you're going to get a title shot. You don't have to fight Whittaker. And I said, well, might as well get it over with now, because that Whittaker fight, you know how much confidence you get when you beat the Reaper and you knock him out. It helps with you getting in there and fighting for the world title. And I always said, you know, if that was my mindset and always has been, fighting him before the belt or fighting him after the belt, what difference does it make?
Yeah.
I believe I'm the best middleweight on planet Earth. And if I believe that truly, I have to be willing to fight the Reaper. And I went out there and did it.
Yeah, you made it look easy.
It was.
All due respect. I mean, also Robert
100%.
Whittaker is one of, I mean, he's also...
He's a Hall of Famer, 100%.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, he's such a good guy and such a great fighter. Jeez, that guy is good. When the first time he actually threw that jab, left hook to me, and I blocked it, and I thought, oh, this guy is so good. And I realized, this is Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
I could feel it, you know, the combination of speed, power, having
the levels.
Just knowing that I've never been in this octagon with somebody like that.
Yeah.
The first time he threw a combination at me, I realized I've never been in here with someone like that. This is the best fighter I've ever stood across from me in this octagon. And yeah.
And when he went down, you were like...
When I caught him with that jab, I mean, firstly, because I was actually, people said I was just throwing a jab. I was going for the jab, but he was also throwing his, and he's so fast. Yeah. He was throwing his own right hand. And I did this to try and slip, because as I jabbed, his right hand just started coming. And I just tried to slip, but it wasn't a pretty one. And I just did this, boom, but I felt it's solid.
Yeah.
But it was still a jab. But he was coming forwards, and I was jabbing hard with my right hand as a southpaw. And I just remember I did this, and I looked at him, and I thought maybe he slipped, because I felt the shot, but he went down to his hands, and he came back up. And as he came back up, he just wobbled a little.
Yeah.
And that's when I just went, go.
Yeah.
And I just went at him, and, you know, that stayed on him. I mean, if I have you in that kind of trouble, and then, of course, you're still fighting Robert Whittaker. So now he's on the fence, and I'm teeing off, but I'm not. You can't be reckless, because if he throws something, if he shoots for a takedown, this opportunity is missed.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that was one of the most special moments in my whole career, going out there and finishing Robert Whittaker, because the funny thing was, they had these pros predictions, and there was 33 UFC fighters that says I'm losing this fight out of 33, and
no
look at us now.
No Vietela.
Yeah, no Vietela.
Another special moment, obviously, Strickland when and knew was called out. I mean, that would have been a relief at the same time, because one judge was Strickland, one was you, and there was one more dude who had to basically decide.
Yeah, my fate,
you know?
my last 11 years of you know, giving it my all. I think, you know, I 100% believe that God gives us what we deserve. He gives and he takes away. I understand that. And sometimes every single loss that I've had out of my 2 losses, without those losses, I wouldn't be here. If I had won that fight against Gareth McLellan back when I was 19, 20, in 2014, no, it was 2014, I promise you, I would have never made the shift of what I think is hard work and what I'm doing now. I would have never made the mental shift of, yes, you are training extremely hard, but you are taking this seriously.
Yeah.
But you're also taking something. I realized this is a full-time job. This is not, I'm studying studying and fighting. Those 2 small things, yeah. Not if you want to be the best in the world. You can become successful, make no mistake, but not if you want to be the best in the world. That loss, I mean, I was 20. I was thrown at 3 professional fights, 4 professional fights, thrown into the deep end completely. I was never supposed to. No, that wasn't the braids. The braids was against when I actually won the belt against Martin.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And coach said, "Well, you're fighting for the belt. Let's go." I mean, I had my 3rd fight. My 4th fight was against Donovan Hawkey with 33 fights.
Jeez.
I mean, the guy is a legend.
Yeah.
He's a legend of the sport.
Shout out.
And and then, that was thrown in the deep end. And coach told me after this, you never should have been in that ring with him. Like, you shouldn't have been, you turned 20 a couple of months ago. You should have never, ever been in a ring with the guy. I mean, after that win, Gareth McGregor went to the UFC.
That's right.
I mean, he was the face of the game in Africa. He was the biggest star. He was so good. I mean, when I fought him, he was like a blanket over me. And, I had my moments in that fight, actually. And the best thing that could have happened to me was losing that fight, because it was never a case of humbling. It made me realize, because I went into that fight saying, I'm definitely outstriking this guy. And I was outstriking him. But I can't fight on the ground with this guy. I had a guillotine on the very first, maybe 10 seconds of the fight. And I just let it go, because I didn't want to fight on the ground with him. That was the plan. Stay off the ground. And, I mean, he took me down, after the second round, just at ease, because he was so good.
Yeah.
And I was basically just defending the takedowns and defending on the ground, trying to get back. That's the worst outlook to fight. If you want to take me to the ground, great. Let's go to the ground, and then I'll fight you there.
Yeah.
If you want to wrestle, let's wrestle. If you want to strike, let's strike. And that's how that fight changed me. Of course, the Soldic loss. Without that loss, I would have still been hanging around at welterweight. And let's be honest,
Cheaper.
that is.
I don't even know how
ridiculous.
you did that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I was walking around at the same weight as I am now. I mean, I was walking around at 97. After a fight, I would go to 103 kilograms and fighting at 77. I mean, it was that fight. Every shot I took was hurting me. And after that fight, I said, no more welterweight.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best decisions. That's a career saver. And so that's those two losses I needed. And like I said, God saw, in my opinion, saw everything that I did. He saw the stuff that I did when nobody was looking. He saw what effort I put in, how badly I wanted that, and how pure my want for that belt was. And it wasn't only a personal gains.
Yeah.
It was, I would have put my heart and soul, I would have put my life on the line to win that belt any day. And not saying that I will, but doing it with ease.
Yeah.
To be able to become a world champion. And I got rewarded for that hard work. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose at the end of the day, but there's always a lesson to be learned. And there's just as big a lesson as winning as there is in losing. And I won't take that for granted. I won't let this win make or break me. Because, great, I'm world champion now, but that's in the past.
Yeah.
The future is coming up next, and I have to make sure that I stay on top of it, because I'm at the top and all these hungry wolves are coming up.
There's some sharks swimming in there.
And they can come. I'm ready.
Dricus, you mentioned the welterweight thing, the middleweight. Where you are now, you walk around, you said about 96, somewhere around there.
I'm 100 now, yeah.
Not +2.
Okay, then I'm 98.
Light heavyweight, I know you said, and you've said it a few times, you want to defend the title a few times. There's this guy called Kamzat who's floating around, who also has to still prove himself, I think, against maybe better opposition, and he's got an opportunity soon.
Yeah.
But is that light heavyweight something champ status is, that's surely part of the long-term plan and the DDP legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, firstly, if you look at Alex Pereira Poatan, he's, in my opinion, one of the greatest combat sport athletes that's ever graced the octagon. I mean, that guy's resume and what he's been able to do as a purely kickboxing guy, coming into the UFC, becoming champion, beating the most dominant champion, going up a division and becoming champion again. In 8 fights, I think. I don't know. It's something ridiculous.
It's something ridiculous.
That is crazy. I get goosebumps. This guy is an absolute machine.
And he's like, I was fortunate enough to interview him. Obviously, he doesn't speak much English, but he has this presence.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
And he's got this presence. And when he's got his, traditional war paint on, he's an intimidating dude.
He's an intimidating dude. He's doing so good. We saw wrestlers, Yoel Romero couldn't take Easy down. We saw Whittaker couldn't take Easy down. We saw, he took him down, but he couldn't. Poatan took Easy down as a purely kickboxer. Yeah. Took Israel Adesanya down, kept him there for a while. It was crazy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when it comes to one of my favorite fighters in the world, he has to be one of them, definitely. But you know, that double champ status, 100%. It's something that but also I'm not somebody that says, okay, now I want to fight for the. Yeah, it's the smarter thing to do money wise. It's. I believe beating Adesanya, if Khamzat beats Whittaker, beating Khamzat, that earns you a spot at light heavy. That earns you a spot because then, if you look at it, the greats, the boogeyman, everybody seems to be scared of in Khamzat. I would love that fight. Fighting easy, beating easy. One of the best middleweights to ever do it. And beating Robert Whittaker, one of the other best middleweights to do it. That earns you that spot. But like I said, I have no problem defending my belt a few times before that. But for now, my focus is 100% on that middleweight division. And my next fight, which in all likelihood would be Israel Adesanya. And that's where all my focus is. You know, none of the other plans, obviously that is in the trajectory for me, but none of the other plans can come together without this.
Dricus, I know you got to run. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you always being honest, always being a great ambassador for the sport that we've worked so hard to defend over the years. Keep up the incredible work and can't wait to see you in action against Adesanya and still.
Thank you, Sias, and still, baby.
All right, and never tap.
And can I also call for David Adesanya and Neil du Plessis? You have to see that fight. You know, the brothers, they need to fight.
Absolutely, it's going to happen. Thanks very much for watching. Dricus du Plessis, UFC middleweight champion of the world, South Africa's first and the only African current UFC champion. We'll catch you again next time. Thanks for watching.